headed by the self-proclaimed Prime Minister of Gaza, met with Mr. Yusuf al-Qaradawi, who's the highly influential Muslim Brotherhood theologian. They met this past Saturday in Qatar, or Qatar as I've heard some say. Now, along with the Hamas leader, the delegation also included Yahya al-Sinwar, who is a top security strategist, and his deputy, who was recently released from the long-term prison sentence in an Israeli prison. And he was part of the prisoner swap that we all remember very, very much so. Now, Qaradawi gave the people of Palestine, as well as those in Gaza, the news that victory is very near, and as a matter of fact, it is at the door. And my question on this, Dad, is how can they say this when really there has been absolutely no advancements in any type of negotiations, especially on the part of Israel, who has said they're willing for things to take place to further the peace process. But you've got these individuals meeting up, you've got Hamas involved, and they're saying that victory is close, it's at the door. My question is, how in the world can it be?
Well, what victory are they talking about?
That's where I was going to go next.
And that's what we need to understand. In their mind, victory is eliminating Israel, putting Israel aside. You know, last night I began to go back and do a systematic study of what we would call the modern Zionist movement, and those that were participating and operating from the American perspective in supporting Israel, and even those first Jewish Supreme Court justice. And I'm not going to go into details today. I'm going to cover these things in future insight programs as we cover topics. But I was intrigued to see the U.S. support, even through the Woodrow Wilson era, towards the Jews that were looking to be repatriated to their homeland, the suffering that Jews had faced, the lies that came about them in the Dreyfus trial in France in the 1890s, and of course how that was used in World War I against the Jews and later Hitler. All these little things have an impact on the Jews, and they have been really in the court of public opinion for many years, and the propaganda against them. But when we talk about al-Qaradawi, you know, a senior operative in Al-Qaeda, who was not even permitted to be in Egypt, now invited back to Egypt, now speaking or spewing his trash to the Egyptian people, hardening them in Islamic principles and Muslim Brotherhood radical ideology, cooperating now with Hamas, which is an offshoot of the radical organization, the Muslim Brotherhood. And by the way, many mosques here in the United States are Muslim Brotherhood like-minded mosques. Many Muslims are supporting. They would say, in one sense, we're for peace. But what is peace in Islam? Peace in Islam does not mean what you and I call peace. Josh and I recognize peace as a cessation of hostilities and a getting along, and understanding and recognizing our differences. That's not according to Islamic scholarship, by the way. Peace in Islam is submission to Islam. Either it's done through your willingness or your forcedness to comply with Islamic principles. So the goal of the Middle East, and it's true of all the Islamic nations that understand in their perspective what's happening against the Palestinians, is Israel must be eliminated. And anyone who supports Israel must not be accepted and used for the benefit of Israel and its principles. Hence, the West is viewed as the great Satan, according to the Ayatollah, and Israel is the little Satan. This is where we're seeing a departure from America supporting Israel as she used to. Now, I know some of you would raise up in arms and say, we support Israel. Do we so much as far as the administration is concerned? Are we participating in a Middle East where we're reshaping the Middle East and making it more Islamic? Are we shaping Europe to where it has become more tolerant towards that which is intolerant? The Muslims demanding their rights at the expense of the freedoms and rights of everybody else. That is what's happening. I don't know what you're seeing or what you're viewing, but we are facing trauma. And we have Ban Ki-moon, the head of the United Nations, looking to meet with Israel and the Palestinians and urging them to get back to the peace table, saying that they need to make concessions one to another and re-engage in the peace process. Well, it's very difficult for Israel to engage in this type of environment when they've given up 1,000 terrorists from their jails. Now they're being part of the Hamas as far as their repatriation and operating in a government. And we are looking at that for the return of one Israeli individual. It seems like when Israel makes concessions, it is significantly greater